One of the most famous building achievements of the Romans are the aqueducts. And when you think of ancient Rome, you think of the Colosseum, you think of arches, you think of the water that the Romans brought on those arches into not just Rome, but cities all over its empire. And so many of them are still standing, so impressive. What are aqueducts? How does the system work? The Romans take a water supply, natural springs, or even part of a river, and put them into an artificially constructed channel, and lead that channel of water into the city of Rome by gradient flow. The majority of the channels built by the Romans for their aqueducts are underground. A mere 5% of the 500 kilometers of channels appear above ground. And when they do appear above ground, like for the Aqua Claudia, they are impressive, they are majestic, and they are a sign, a distinct sign that Rome is in charge and Rome is not afraid of attack, because you have these water sources, these channels that are going to be going in to take care of the population, visible, and it's very easy then to cut one of those arches and cut the water supply. So when the Romans do build them above the ground, they are fearless. After selecting a water source, river, or springs, a channel is dug and is leading all the way into the city of Rome at a very slight grade, on average around a 5-meter drop per kilometer. This is why we marvel at Rome. This is why we're impressed with the engineering. It is so precise. It had to be precise, because if they didn't keep that continual gradient flow going, the water would never reach the city, and all that expense and all that labor would have been for nothing. The earliest aqueduct lines came to the city of Rome at a very low elevation. So as Rome progressed, expanded, and had more funds, the sources of water came from further and further distances, which meant that the city would get water coming into it at a higher elevation, and that allowed the water to be distributed to higher and higher hills. The 11 aqueduct lines constructed in the Republic and the Imperial period were so impressive and allowed Rome to flourish. You couldn't have had a population in antiquity of close to 1 million people without that much water coming into the city. How much water came into the city of Rome? We have some estimates, we have some statistics from Frontinus, but we don't understand always what the measurement system was that he's referring to. So what we can estimate, what we do have the various scholars that have looked at the material, suggests up to 1 million cubic meters of water flowed into Rome at its height, when you have 11 aqueducts working. What is that in gallons? That's over 264 million gallons of water coming into the city of Rome daily. And this wasn't something that you turned off. The water just flowed through and was diverted to other places afterward for secondary uses, such as fuller's shops, people that are employed to clean clothes. They could use a lot of that water. And water could be stored in cisterns as well, which is particularly necessary when you're talking about the grand scale of the imperial baths, the baths of Caracalla, Trajan, Diocletian. You had to store up a lot of water that then could be let out over time to change out the water in the various pools and those facilities. Where did the water go? After it passed through the baths, fountains, and even people's houses, it went through the sewer lines and passed through and flushed out a lot of filth into the Tiber River. The aqueducts give you a sense of how massive and successful Rome was. When Rome was at its height, its aqueducts were working. And when the aqueducts went out of use, Rome's population plummeted.